Hello, I'm Bill LeMay, and thank you for watching Community Matters. We hope you'll continue to watch as we discuss issues facing our community and provide you with the resources and information needed to find solutions. Welcome to Community Matters. Today we're talking about transitioning from military service to careers in the agricultural industry. Joining me now is the man who's been at the forefront of these opportunities, Robert Elliott. Welcome to the show, Robert.
Thanks.
You're a Marine. I can tell you're a Marine. Just by looking at you, I know you're a Marine. How long?
5 years active duty and 10 years as a contractor after that.
And now you're farming. Well,
not so much farming anymore. I farm a little bit of hemp, but as far as farming goes, I think it's mainly training veterans and trying to pass it on to the next gen.
You know, it's interesting. I was reading something that I think it was either a speech you've given, and you've given many on this, that you said farming saved your life. And I don't know how that's true, but I'm guessing it's in relationship to veterans.
It really is in a few different ways. When I transitioned back to the civilian life, after spending 15 years with Marines day to day, you lose your support network, and you wind up with basically by yourself, and things that you typically have that are taken care of for you are no longer there. They're gone. Everything is pretty well taken care of you for the past 15 years, and then one day it's all just gone and you're by yourself. And
explain that for the viewers, because if you've never been in the military, it's hard for people to understand. What do you mean by that?
Well, imagine being on an aircraft and you crash in the Pacific and you wind up on this small island with 20 or 30 other people, and then you stay with them for 10, 15 years after that. And then one day they find you and come pick you up and take you back home, and everything that you've known for those 10, 15 years is completely gone. And everybody that you depended on from day to day are now gone. We would share pretty much every aspect of our lives together, and when that type of relationship with the men and women that you're working with in the military, even more so in the Marine Corps, in my opinion. But when all of that disappears, it is basically you and you alone that you can count on a day-to-day basis, or you have to basically train yourself to take care of everything on your own and deal with problems as they come up on your own. And for a lot of us, not all of us, and it's really important to understand that every veteran is different. Some are your pretty stereotypical definition of a veteran, of what people would imagine a veteran to be, but every single one of us are different in some aspect, some way, somehow. Just like the civilian population is different from person to person. But when you lose that kind of support network and you wind up by yourself, you come into the civilian world and you're not really sure how to deal with a lot of things that folks that have been in the civilian world their whole lives are dealing with. For me, it was due to the loss of, my work and winding back up on the family farm and not really having a direction. And I was having a lot of issues with transitioning back into civilian life, like trying to go to college and do well and be successful and stuff like that. And I was having a really hard time with that. And probably one of the bigger issues I had was I felt like nobody really cared about trying to help me out. It was sort of like the civilian world's dog eat dog, when it's the military life is, you are a cohesive team and you work as a team, and you come out in the civilian world and it's gone.
Yeah, one of the things I found interesting getting to know a lot of folks in the military was, well, first of all, how impressive you guys are. At a young age, you're driving $1 million pieces of equipment, and you're trained in high tech. And at the same time, and I think you brought this up in one of the articles I read, that you know, you really have the support system, not only of the people, but they take care of your food, they take care of your housing, they take care of every aspect of your life. Was that a big problem for you? Was that another part of the transitioning challenge you had and veterans have?
I was pretty well adjusted to taking care of my own bills and stuff like that. I mean, I don't think it's so much that aspect of transition that's the bigger problem. It's just the loss of your general support network. Because when you're in the military, if you've got something going on in your life and you need help with it, you go to your next person up, or your staff NCO of your unit or officer or whatever, and they can direct you into a direction where somebody can help you with whatever it is you're going through. Those things are gone for sure, but you know, for me, it's sort of like stepping back into the civilian world and trying to readjust was pretty difficult, just because I didn't really know what I was doing, I guess is the simplest answer for this. But
now here you are.
Yeah.
Today, we're just going to jump ahead a little bit because we're going to get into this in more detail in the next segment. But now we're talking veterans and agriculture. You know, when I think agriculture, I think farming. You know, but there's lots of careers, I'm sure, in agriculture. How did that happen?
Well, I grew up on the family farm in Franklin County, and I watched my folks have excellent agricultural production skills, but when it came down to the business aspect of running a farm, they didn't do a very good job with that. And I watched auctions happen on the farm where everything that we owned that was not bolted down or the soil itself was sold off. Growing up in that kind of scene, it just made me think, I am never doing this. That, you know,
Your family said, what are you, crazy?
Yeah.
Don't do it. They try to talk you out.
Exactly.
So how could you possibly recommend this to veterans?
Right.
But you do.
Well, it's not so much recommending it to veterans as much as they're beating the door down for it.
Yeah.
When I got back to the farm, though, and I was trying to make something of myself in the engineering world, it wasn't panning out. And one day I just was sitting in the backyard, and you know, I had just gotten some chickens, and one of them ran by and jumped up in my lap, and I was like, I'm just looking at this chicken staring at me, and I was like, I think I'll try farming.
So it was that chicken moment. Yeah. So it was the chicken, not the egg
it was a
first
chicken.
for you.
Yeah, it was a chicken that came first. So I started farming and took everything that I owned, which was not much at the time, and sold it all off and bought the first set of chickens that I ever grew that were for production for meat. And from there I got into hogs, and I figured out there was pretty decent money in hogs. And so I took off with that, and I started learning as much as I could about business and just basic business principles, and you know, like accounting for your time and transportation and depreciation on things, and really analyzing where your costs are in a business. And I learned pretty quick that, you know, you can have the greatest ideas in the world for a business, but if they don't make money, they don't make money.
And that's where NC State comes in, and a lot of other folks. At Fort Bragg, we can talk about that when we come back in the next segment, because there is a wonderful program out there. If you happen to be a veteran or you know someone who is, and they're looking for something that, well, they might fall in love with, you stick around, because we'll be right back with more Community Matters.